Welcome back to the program. Many times we tell people, keep reaching for the stars. What do we mean by that? Well, we actually have someone who is following those words a bit literally. Kester Wade is a NIHERST NASA student. What does that mean? We will find out. Good morning, sir. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
When you say you're a NIHERST NASA student, what does that mean?
Well, I'm a representative of NIHERST, and I was able to attend this NASA internship at the Ames Research Center in Mountain View. So,
how did that actually happen?
I wonder myself sometimes. So I remember just speaking with some friends about summer plans. There's a lot of people sort of make plans to do internships. And a friend mentioned going to NASA, and somehow at the same time my dad had seen this poster with NIHERST, with the NASA internship. And so, I wondered to myself, am I going to be good enough for NASA? I know a lot of people sort of think that this is something that's really out of their reach and out of their potential. But, it really came down to just being passionate about it and believing in myself. And, my thought was, it's not going to harm me, no harm in trying. And so I applied, of course, not with the expectation of getting through, but definitely was successful, and I'm very, very happy about that.
Well, some people say you have to be in it to win it. So if you do send the application, nothing happens. But I was like, how many people are in that cohort in that internship?
So the internship, from Trinidad we had it was just me as one of the representatives. But the internship encompasses about hundreds of different people, because at the center there are many different programs. So some people are interns, some people are locals, some people are from Bay Area projects. So there, over about hundreds of different interns.
Okay, so what did your internship kind of encompass?
Yeah, so I worked with the Advanced Life Support Group. So just to sort of introduce that, it refers to sort of in securing the health and safety of the astronaut as they are on their mission to space. And so unlike a car where if it shuts down, you can go to the mechanic, in space there's no mechanic, there's no backup. And so if these systems fail, the astronaut will die. So more specifically, we worked with the water recycling group. Now it costs on the magnitude of millions of dollars just to send water up to space. You can imagine with transport and the materials.
And while explaining that, we actually have some live footage from the station.
All right, okay. So just to send the water up to space costs a lot of money. So the idea is we're able to sort of just recycle everything that's up there. And, how do we get water? We get it from our breath, condensing our breath, and of course from urine. And so we were working on this self-repairing water filtration system, because NASA has this protocol of triple redundancy. And so if you have 3 machines, you always have a second backup just in case something goes wrong. But of course, every pound counts, and so weight is very expensive. So the idea is that we would have this system that when it clogs up with all the pollutants that you sort of extract from the filter, just as a regular filter, we're able to sort of peel that off and sort of preserve the actual filter itself. And so the filter keeps lasting. And actually, just out of interest, I was all in on this project. So while we were there, we were able to test out these systems, and I had to urinate in a bag and left it for a day and allowed it to filter through, and was able to taste the water after. It was already beta tested, so it was safe.
I'm sure that makes for interesting conversation around drinks, literally. But in terms of going there, what's some of the things going through your mind? Because yes, you've been accepted to the program, so you've already kind of got through that kind of surreal kind of vibration. Now you're there. What is going through your mind when you're actually there on the ground?
So when you get there, I think my biggest fear was just the caliber of NASA and sort of getting into that. And in addition to the logistics of, getting in, because I was an international student, so there are certain limitations. But the biggest thing was just, being able to get to that level of knowing and being understanding. And it was very, very interesting that the culture there is not about what you know and exactly how much you know, but just whether you're able to learn it. And so after 2 weeks of being in the program, getting my introductions, it was really, I was taught everything I needed to know. And so it was just, the quick thinking skills, being able to sort of adapt to the situations and applying whatever lessons I had known from before. Yeah.
No, I'm hearing that in your specific program, there are about 10 people?
Yes.
How does it feel to be one of 10 in this program from Trinidad and Tobago, from the Caribbean?
Yeah, so it's a deep, humbling honor. I mean, I never expected to be, so highly selected. So there were just 10 of us from this international internship, and luckily I had another guy with me on my team from Mexico. And so it is something that you never really expect to be, in such high demand. And when you get there, it really is such an eye-opening thing to see all that awaits you. Yeah.
What were you planning to do before this internship, and has that changed after the internship? Because sometimes people say, well, the brain just busts open, so you see more horizons available.
Yeah, there's a thing with me. I tend to, when I learn and see all these different other options, it doesn't help me focus, but rather divert. But I'm really interested in chemical engineering. So right now I'm very interested to see how, environment and working with the environment, and how I can sort of apply these chemi principles towards achieving that. So this internship was really focusing on water recycling. So that was a very, very good exposure for me, just to see how it applies, not only just, to this world, but in space, literally in space, to see how the water recycling works. So I think it was a very, very good experience to sort of know, what I might see myself getting involved in, the type of work and type of technology and research that might go into doing that.
Okay. There's a process I call understanding, and this is where you take education and you kind of apply it specifically to a space that is around you. Well, space, no pun intended. But I'm wondering, do you see anything that you've learned thus far in this internship that you could kind of bring to the table in Trinidad and Tobago? Anything specifically you'd want to tackle here?
Yes. So I think definitely these sort of opportunities are so important, because just encouraging our students and our youth to experience what it is abroad, I mean, NASA is the top of the top, so being able to go to NASA and sort of have that experience, so anything on that level is so important. So I really am driven to take this experience and bring it back to Trinidad and allow a lot of other people to not just see themselves as below, but really think of what they can do and be motivated to see the extra. And I think that is something that's really important, that I want to be able to share this experience with others and motivate others to think outside the box as well, And furthermore, this water recycling technology is very, very interesting, because, water is such an important commodity. So to be able to maybe see that being applied in Trinidad as well would be really, really cool.
School is about to start back. People are going to be choosing subjects, streams. What are some of the subjects that you did that would make it possible to undertake this kind of learning?
Yeah, so I mean, there's such a wide spectrum of focuses that occur up there, And I mean, everything ties into space, whether it's on your computer, whether it's chemistry, it's physics, everything plays a part. So I mean, I did physics, chemistry, and pure and applied math for CAPE. I mean, any subject works really, and it's really it's not really what you know, but how you sort of take that and apply it, beyond the subjects. So I mean, any sort of STEM field is what I sort of focused in, but I can see any subject kind of taking you where you need to go,
You said you had a friend who, in the cohort of 10, who was from Mexico. I'm wondering, what are some of your other support systems? Were you texting back and forth home? Were you people sending messages, solidarity? How was that support circle like?
Yeah, so I got a huge support every time I would post something on Facebook, because every time somebody saw NASA, the whole friend group would explode. But I also had a very great cohort back at school, because I go to school very nearby at Stanford. So I had a very good Caribbean crew there that I would be able to fall back on. And also within the intern group, because I lived on the NASA Lodge right next to work, probably about a 3-minute bike ride away. And so we had quite a close-knit group of interns that lived there as well, that we would sort of do things on weekends.
What would you tell someone who's thinking about it, but the same way you say, I wonder if I could get through, boy, but you sent the application. There's some people who, by the same token, they just wouldn't because they're wondering. What would you tell that person?
Yeah, I mean, don't second guess yourself. It's something that you might not see exactly what skills you have that you take for granted, but you never know what they're looking for. What we might say is something that, it's something that I do, it's something that I have, but it's a skill I have, but not important. That might be exactly what these recruiters are looking for. It might just be that untold skill that some people just don't realize they have. We in the Caribbean are very, very skilled people, but we don't realize it, So don't second guess yourself, be confident, send up the application. The worst that they can say is no, the best they can say is let's go to the moon, So, take this step forward and look. Go without looking, just move forward with it.
No, you remind me of my dad a little bit because he did maths, phys, chem at UA, and I ran as far away as I could from math. I like physics, which is weird. But in terms of taking knowledge and applying it in different situations, I wanted to talk a little bit about that because there's a knock on some tertiary level students right now that yes, they're bright, but at the same time they can't apply that skill in a different situation, and so it's problematic. How important is it for you to be able to do that?
So I think it's definitely important to take what you have and to be able to apply it to different things. To me, as an engineer, it's been a priority that what I'm working on is something that's applicable within society and having an effect on the society. I think that's definitely very, very important to be able to see what you're doing and see that it's important and see where it can take you. So I think something I do generally is just to see, what I'm working on, how can this be applicable? Where can I sort of apply this in the future? And where I want to see myself using this in the future. So not just, in the now where it might be fun, but also, in the future where it might be useful as well.
What are some of the things that you're working on in Stanford?
So I'm studying chemical engineering at Stanford. And so it's a very interesting degree because it's a mix of all the different liberal arts. So I have to do creative writing again, the language again, but also a lot of deep science. So right now, I'll be going back in about a week. And so we'll be working on biochemistry, quantum chemistry, and those sort of things. I'm also doing a class on international politics, just to get a creative expression requirement out of the way. So different things that I'll be working on.
What are you doing in this week before you go back to school?
Well, so I'm doing a few little media interviews. I have a presentation to give on Thursday. I'll be giving that at UE, St. Augustine, the Noah Hassan Ali Auditorium. And that's also on the NIHERST page. I have to buy a few different things, so I have to make sure I get my roti, my doubles before I go. I want to take up a Naparima cookbook as well, so I can get some cooking up there.
That Naparima cookbook is the truth.
It's important.
But in terms of that talk that you're going to be giving at UE, what is the one major takeaway you want somebody to say, okay, well, I went and I had this talk, I heard it, I was present at it. The one thing that you want someone to take away from it?
I think the one thing that I need people to take away from it is that this can be you as well. It's not something that's isolated to me. It's not something that's isolated to the people who have been there. I mean, even if it's not through this program, there are other different opportunities that I think people can sort of capitalize on and take the step forward. And so I really want it to be sort of an inspirational speech where people can see themselves in these sort of pathways and sort of look to the future of, reaching for the stars.
You think you're the exception in terms of people who are in the Caribbean and having that potential?
Definitely not. I mean, there's so many smart, capable people here, and it's really just for people to take the extra step of, reaching or, reaching into the unknown and sort of trying their hardest, where they might not have that safety of knowing what's happening. And so I think I'm definitely not an exception. There's so many students that study abroad. There's so many students that go to these different places and do amazing things. And I mean, it's really just for everybody to get on that wavelength of time for me to try,
Coming out of that shiny certificate as a chemical engineer, what do you think is the first project, your heart project you'd want to be tackling?
I'm not sure yet. I mean, I've yet to decide what actual path I want to take within chemical engineering. But I'm really looking to get an experience, whether it is in research or industry, to sort of see how I can use the degree and how I can sort of make important changes and explorations while I'm there.
All right, so, well, Kester Wade, we want to thank you so much. We want to say continue reaching for the stars, inspiring others, and being your best self. Thank you for being here, and thank you for tuning in to Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago. We have so much more in store for you. News is next. We continue after that.